Welcome everybody to an episode of Building with Dad.
Wow.
So in this episode, what we're going to do is we have this bunk bed here. I don't know if you can see that. So we have this bunk bed frame that we're going to convert to a twin size bed. So a lot of you guys out there might think you don't have enough tools or the tools to do a simple fix like this, but you're going to learn how. And come follow along with us in this episode, and Lily is going to be learning with you. So first off, what we're going to do is Lily has drawn up a mock image of the plans. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to measure everything out. So this is what Lily has drawn up. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put some measurements on there, and from here on out we're going to start cutting and arranging this so that it will look like something.
Want me to draw it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it can just be with like a stick figure type thing.
So it's gonna look something like this, or if it was 3D, but like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I meant to do this.
Are you guys video?
Yeah, so it's going to look like that. So let's take some measurements, and we're going to add those measurements to our little picture. All right, so looking at this, what we've done, we've taken all the measurements that we need, and we're going to start making our cuts. One of the things that we found was that they have these little square screws that are attaching every one of these little guys. So we're going to remove those guys and remove the boards that we don't need. Crazy enough, we found a square bit. And that square bit is unusual for the stuff that I've normally worked in. But I've seen them in decking screws, but this bit, it should work. I was going to use this guy to cut off all the screws, all the fasteners that are here, and there. Fortunately, we found the bit, so we should be able to power through this thing real quick and be able to do this a lot faster. Since this is Lily's bed, she is going to learn how to do the rest. So you're just going to put it in there and drill out. So that's pretty good right there. And then you just got to push hard so it doesn't move. Yeah. All right, go for it. There you go. That's it. And once they're loose like that, you can pull them out. So just because you want to go straight doesn't mean the screw wants to go straight. Go ahead. And do you see it slipping like that? That means you're not straight down on it. It's because you're at an angle. Go for it. Yeah, good job.
Good.
Yep, good. The best way to know is just to pull the trigger and see how it goes. Because if you don't pull the trigger, you'll never know, right? Yeah, you get the idea. You're already going in at an angle. Good job. Yeah, let me get that one.
Oh, there we go.
Cool. All right, so this is a back saw, and the back saw has this reinforced spine here. It's usually used in a miter box. And the reason why you would use this is more of like a finishing saw. You can see the teeth are a lot smaller. So I'm going to use this saw instead of, hold on.
Hold on. A tree saw. That is.
Instead of this saw. So if you look at the blades there, they're a lot jagged, and there's a lot more. Yeah, they're a lot just more jagged and stuff compared to that saw.
Like the top, that one over there is like thinner.
So I've actually had this. This saw is older than Lily actually, and it's still pretty sharp because I take care of my tools. Take care of your tools, and they'll last a long time. So normally with a saw, with any saw, you want to start. You want to get a good, decent line, and if you were to start doing what I'm doing to mark a line going forward, it'd be really hard to do so. So always go backwards to start. Now you don't have to be pushing really hard or anything. You just got to be cutting straight. And you let the saw on the first passes. You let the saw do it yourself. Let the saw go through it. All you're doing is guiding the saw. So with a back saw, once you have a groove down inside, you normally don't have to do a lot of work. All you have to do is keep it from. You just got to keep pushing it. That's all you got to do. If you were to try to do the same thing with this saw, what would happen is it would start flexing. It would start bending. And when you would pull, it would start flexing, going back and forth, and it becomes really hard. So you can't necessarily follow a groove as a back saw can. The back saws, they work way more easier, and they keep your blade straight. That's the benefit of a back saw. So all you got to do is you just got to keep pushing, and if it gets too hard, then your cut is not straight and you'll be struggling. So the best thing about doing a cutting with a back saw is first establish your groove and then just follow it. It's really easy. So when it starts catching and stuff, what's happening is you're twisting the saw. Like the human body actually works in curves and arcs. It never works straight. And so when you're moving the saw back and forth, the body wants to turn and twist. And so you have to control what you're feeling in your wrist. So that you have joints, right? You have joints in your wrist, in your hands, your fingers, your elbow, your shoulder. You gotta find that right spot and think to yourself, okay, I need to lock these specific muscles in place while allowing only these other muscles to hold it. So that's what's happening. And right now you're just trying to train your muscles to think, okay, this is what I gotta do and this is how I gotta do it. That's the hard part of the trades. A little spider. Alright, so Lily was saying it was getting a little harder, it was starting to squeak and stuff. That means it's starting to near the end. And what happens is when you start breaking through the other side of the wood, there's little pieces of wood that start breaking apart. They start going down, and the blade, what happens is it starts rubbing up against the blade. Yeah, and that squeaking is letting you know that the wood's about to fall off. So what you do is you angle your saw this way, all right, and then you take quick passes down.
Oh. Hey, and just like that, it's over.
All right, and then right here, what we're doing is all this right here, we're gonna bore out. We're gonna remove.
Oh, like this?
Mm-hmm. We're gonna make it just like this. I'm gonna use this saw because we're not gonna be cutting all the way through.
You just need to get.
We want to cut faster. It'll allow us to cut faster and quicker because the teeth are more aggressive. you're doing these little cuts here and you don't want to go all the way through, to not be aggressive, you take quick, fast little passes. Because this saw, I don't know if you can see that, but this saw is actually bent. And so I have to be very careful not to go on the bent side because it becomes really hard to go through the material.
I think you're there.
All right.
You made a little bent.
Let's see. That's pretty good there. Let's go down just down here. All right. So there's that. All we need is a chisel. We can knock those pieces out. All right, so we marked the end so that we don't go too far down and we don't cut off anything that we actually need. Because if we go too far down, we'll blow right through the other side, or we'll break what we don't need. All right, we'll break off too much. So we're just gonna take the chisels.
There's a bigger one.
We're gonna take the chisels, and we're just gonna knock all that stuff out right there. All right, so what you're doing is this this edge here, this angle, you want to keep it as flat to your surface as possible, and that's going to be your guide initially. You could also use it this way, and that could be your guide. And then you could hold it down with your thumb and knock it. So let's try it this way first. Normally the direction of this of your chisel going in at the chosen direction. In this case, your chisel is going to want to go down. In this case, your chisel is going to go up. Is going to go up. So normally, it'll depend on how you want your wood to get knocked out. Is how you'll hold your chisel. So let's go this way first. And then knock this little chunk out. There we go. Go in here again. Knock that little guy out. There we go.
It's like wood actually has layers.
Yeah. Good old wood layers. See? And so we took off that little bit there, simply with a chisel. And you always want to go you don't want to take off huge chunks off. You just want to take off little bits. Just like that. See? And I'm just gonna take off a little bit right here. Just to get under, and it'll just pop right up. It doesn't need to be, you don't need to do it hard or anything. You just take off little chunks at a time. And you just take little pieces out. There's no need to go fast. When you go fast, that's when you start making mistakes, or sometimes you get hurt. Just like in school, when you go fast doing homework, what happens?
You mess up.
You
But I don't mess up in school. I
Oh,
don't mess up.
What happens when you do your homework really fast? What happens when you do your math homework really fast?
I get it wrong, but I've been going slow lately.
So just like in doing homework, it applies to a lot of things. If you want to do a good job, you're going to take your time, think about what you got to do,
And do it.
problem solve it. If you need to step back for a little bit after you've worked a little bit of stuff, take a step back. I don't know if you guys have been watching the Hollow Knight series, but we talk about that as well. Right? There was a time where I kept I kept playing the game and I was getting a little frustrated, and then the game was not becoming fun anymore. And then we stepped aside and we decided, hey, you know what? Let's go eat some food. Let's eat.
Okay, food's not.
Let's come back. Let's get our minds rested. Right? And then what did we do?
You beat the mantis lords.
Yeah, that's right. We beat the mantis lords.
Yeah.
Quite easily. I think it was like a first try. And it was a piece of cake, right?
It was a first try. It was like the 20th try.
Okay, well, it was the first try in that
Break
recording.
time.
Yeah, brick recording time.
Oh.
It's
Is that
it
too
went
big of a
little
chunk?
Too far down. Yeah. All right.
Oh, look, we've got a little groove we have to fill.
That's fine. No one's gonna see that. And just so long as we get this going here, you can just rock it back and forth. You don't have. If we want to use the just use our own elbow grease, our own strength to move this chisel, because all we're doing is we're doing the finish cleaning on it. Then it doesn't, and we're not taking large chunks out. You don't have to use a hammer anymore.
I'm just shaving it.
Yeah, you can just shave it. And these guys here, because they're going now perpendicular to the ground, you just knock them. And that's it. And what you can do is you can take a level and see how. So if you look over here, the straight edge, we know this part is straight, right? That part is straight. But what about over here? So if you see the light coming in, we have a hump right here. So let's take out that hump, and then it should bring our level down. And so what you can do is you can do your rocking motion again. You just take little bites out of the wood. Just like that. You don't need to go fast. You just gotta go nice and easy. Alright. So you can score it with the edge there of your chisel. Alright, so let's take a measurement again. Yeah, see? Brought it closer, right? So what part
Still something right here.
Yeah, so we see a little bit of light here, so that means that's lower, but we see a high part right here, right? And we see a high part right here, and then the rest of them are pretty low. So we can actually, if you want, you could even mark where it needs to go down a little bit. And then you can tend to those little areas that need to get removed. And this side. And just push it. Right, measurement again. Is that pretty good? So now we have a belly here. Kind of does this. But looks like we're good. Looks like we're good. That'll work. That's good enough. Alright. So that's one.
No. There we go.
All right, so this side we use the other saw. On this side we use this saw, And you can see that we had some blowout right here. On this side, we used the back saw. And the back saw didn't even have anything going, no problems going. All right, go ahead. Hold on.
I don't know how to do this.
This way. So you're gonna hold it like this, and you're gonna use the flat part of the chisel to guide you up until you get here. There you go.
Oh.
That's it.
It's so easy. It's like butter.
When you have sharp chisel, hold on.
Wait.
Little by little. So you only need to go about that much more. Okay.
Okay.
So you should put your hand underneath the wood, like that, and on top of the tool.
Like that?
Yeah, like that. I'm gonna move to the side so you can have a better angle. Yeah.
It's literally like butter.
Remember, keep it flat against here. Keep it flat, and then slide it up to where you want your chisel. But we want to take just little chunks, right? Yeah, see? There you go. Was that pretty easy or what?
It's like easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Just make sure that when you get to a point to where the chisel can actually hold itself, you can move your finger, because I've seen people when this goes up like this, it goes underneath their fingernail, and I've seen people get huge slivers underneath their fingernails, and it's not fun. So just be aware of what's going on. Yeah.
I'm so glad this is metal and not plastic.
Yeah, pay attention. Yeah. All right, hold on. Let's do something.
No, this stuff we don't care because it's gonna come off anyway.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, I thought that was gonna go under my nail.
No, too aggressive. There you go. Those little chunks at a time.
I like it when it just flies off. It's like. So what makes pine so good?
as a building material, it grows quite fast. And so there's more of it. And it's quite strong. Not as strong as hardwood.
But it's strong.
But it's strong. There are other types of wood that are softer than pine, that are weaker than pine.
Like birch?
Like balsa wood. The other good reason why people use pine other than hardwoods is, well, one, it's plentiful. Not as plentiful as you would think, but it's fairly plentiful. And the other reason is it's easier to work with.
Oh, there's the... Oh.
Yeah, do you see that blowout there that I did?
What'd you do?
Because I was too aggressive in cutting that knot out. Alright, putting the level to it. There's a little bow right here.
Right at the knot.
Right at the knot, of course. So I'll try to take this knot out. We'll put a mark here. And then we'll put a mark. And then right here is high. So if you look at the top, you'll see the marks up here that we need to take out. So right here. Yeah, right there. There's that guy. And this guy right here. And then if you use the corner of the chisel, you slowly take it out. Slowly and surely.
What makes the knots?
The knots, that's where the tree branches are.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, that's where the tree branches grow. So the tree branches, you know, there's another little stick of wood right there. And you never want to keep your finger in the direction that you're chiseling. Otherwise, I've seen people gore themselves. So they'll be like this. They'll be holding their chisel towards them like this. And they'll be hammering this way. Well, what's in the way if they were to slip? Your belly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or someone else. Yeah, you always want to be careful when you're using tools, especially tools with a sharp edge. You don't want to hurt anyone. Safety first, because you know you can't replace an eye. Can't replace fingers unless they sew them back on, but normally you lose feeling in them. All right, so let's measure it again. All right, so we got a belly here. That's good. We got a belly here still. That one's good.
Yay!
Pretty good, huh? Didn't take so long. Didn't take long at all. All right, so we use the Dremel tool to cut off these angles here. I didn't use the saw because I didn't want to mess up. It's a lot harder for saws to cut with the grain than perpendicular to the grain. So that's why I use the Dremel tool. I know the Dremel tool you can't really control very well, but
It worked.
it worked. It was faster. I felt it was just a little tad easier.
This side,
Did
maybe?
you see what I was doing? So that's what I did.
Could certainly feel the vibration too.
Yeah.
It's like shaking the entire table and all whatnot.
All right.
Yes.
Now, I was telling Lily just now that she
It's a sander.
needed a all these angles that could possibly contact skin. So down here would be like a toe. Up there on the other side.
Could
here.
be my head.
Could be your head, right?
Yeah,
And
not.
if you feel like these sides right here, they're nice and smooth,
I mean, this side's kind of rough,
So-
but I mean, that's the inside.
right? But would you rather knock your head against that or your head against that?
This
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this tool. This is a
sander.
router.
Oh.
This is a router, and we're gonna round off those edges.
Oh, it's rounder because of this circular thing, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. All right. So look at that. We're getting rid of that groove there.
Needs to focus.
And so the reason why we're sanding this right here is because if we have the router and we're going down across it, whatever imperfection there is,
It's gonna catch.
It's gonna catch. So the router will go down, and if there was a bump there, it would go, meh, and you would see the bump. And so we have to sand this off so you don't see the bump, or so the bump's not pronounced in the routing. So we gotta get this level and fixed before we do any routing of this. And we gotta see if we can sand all this excess little marks and stuff. There. Pretty good. See, there's no groove there. I mean, you can see it a little bit. We'll take care of it. All right, now, yeah, it looks kind of goofy down there, but
It's like,
yeah, it goes down and then it kind of has this bend here. But this is going to be towards the feet. No one's going to see it.
unless they look down all the time,
Unless
like
they-
I do.
Unless they put their head down to the floor and take a look at it. And so I'm hoping that that distance, people won't see the distance that this arc is shallower than this one. So, all right, next one. Yeah, it'll take a while. So just take your time, go at a good pace. Pace yourself when you're sanding. Sanding always takes a little bit. Hey, it looks like you're doing pretty good already. You already have a lot of it almost done.
Wait. So, like this tiny groove here will, like just that will mess up the entire. Oh.
Yeah, so you gotta take out that little groove there.
It's like it has to be perfect.
Well, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, I mean,
it has to be close.
yeah, I mean, this side right here isn't perfect, but it's good enough.
Good enough.
Yeah, it's good enough for what we need.
My arm is getting so tired.
Yeah,
It's like.
It's it's funny because the old timers would say, hey, if you don't want to do this kind of work, get an education.
Oh.
Well, nowadays, there are tools that do exactly what you're doing. And you don't have to put a lot of strain and effort into a lot of this. So there may come a time where you're like, you know, I do like doing this kind of stuff, but if I had a machine, it'd be a lot faster and more fun. Because if you like building and you enjoy the building process rather than the prep and, you know, all the cleaning part. But if you had the tools to do all that stuff, it would be more enjoyable. Some people, I'm gonna tell you guys, I used to be in the trades, and the trades were pretty fun when I did them. And I don't have any beef against them. You make quite a bit of money doing them if you're really good. Like this kind of stuff, like making a bed, you know. You could
Or
do this.
fixing a bed.
Yeah, or fixing a bed. You could totally do this kind of stuff and make pretty good money.
Oh, I think I did.
You got it? All right, let's check it out. Nope. You see that little?
Dang it.
We're almost there.
Almost.
Yeah, let's keep going. All right, so looking at this guy, so we did all the cuts, we did all the preliminary cuts, and then we used the router, and we just rounded this off so it's smooth. So it looks like this side. Look over here, it looks like that. And since this is Lily's, this is going to be Lily's bed. Lily, do you want to sand all this stuff off?
Yes.
Yeah?
All that. Just get it out of here.
All the crayon and stuff? All right, so we're going to sand all that, and then we'll show you the finished product.
I mean, we could have.
Then we also did all this.
Oh yeah, that's
rounded
right.
this stuff.
It's all
We
nice
rounded all
now.
this. So we're just gonna quickly sand all the
Crayon and
all the
marker off.
crayon stuff and get that going. So I was showing Lily how an orbital sander works, and most of the pads that an orbital uses, sandpaper is just pretty much just some type of a grit of sand or some abrasive, and it's adhered to paper. So that paper on the orbital sander, there's like this fuzzy, and on the back of this guy here, there's little hooks and such. Those little hooks it's pretty much a Velcro system, and you just stick your pad on there. So there you go. Line up the holes as best you can. There's 5 here and there's 4 there, so it doesn't really matter, but those little holes are for like a little vacuum, and it pushes the dust to that.
Can't really tell.
I would say just align it as close as you can to here. Center it as best as you can. There you go. That's good. And just press it on with your hand. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So the biggest part of all of this is when little kids draw all over their stuff. Now you understand why the parents are like, oh, why are you drawing all this stuff? Because then they have to either fix it, or it's gonna look like that for forever, right? And a lot of the times, parents will just leave it, and they'll say, well, the kid is gonna be moving on, and we'll just buy another one once they leave. But in this case, this has some pretty good use. I mean, what you could even do, you could like get like some stencils, and you could like put it over here and like trace it, and make and carve something, or even paint something. You could paint like a Hollow Knight heroes. You could do flowers. You could do like whatever you wanted, because this is your bed. So here's the finished product. We put it all together. Lily cleaned up around her bed, vacuumed, and there it is, looking all spiffy like.
Yay!
So we're gonna throw the bunkie board on, or the bed right across, and she did an awesome job.
Good night.
There it is.